and Jonesy know what it's all about. From burnouts and doubts to boundaries that stick, we're right here with you through thick and thick. Do what you want because you're grown. You don't need to hustle all on your own. With that voice in your ear when it all goes whack, take a deep breath, we got your back.
All right, so we're going to jump into another episode of Minding Our Business. Our guest today is Steve Krouch, who's actually my mother's first cousin, right?
Yep.
My mother's first cousin. He is a businessman, and from what I understand, you're retired, and then you decided retirement wasn't for you.
Nah, never quite retired.
All right, so why don't you just give us a gist of what you do, what you're doing now?
Well, I have my company's called Capture 360. So what I'm doing is 3D photography, basically working in the real estate industry to a great extent. But now most of my business is going toward commercial work, such as like offices and things like that. So
when you say commercial work, do you mean that business, the photography end is serving that, or are you doing build outs and rehabs when you say commercial work?
Say you have an office building that you want to rent out. I'll come in and scan the whole property, and then you'll be able to, virtually walk through the whole property.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Well, I think you and I will have a conversation later in a professional capacity, because I have some clients who are, they're developers, they're flippers, and some of them have recently gotten to commercial flex space on the acquisition side. And I don't really do anything on the dispo side. It's all strictly the direct to seller marketing. So I don't know what I don't know, and you've got a marketing avenue that I can make a connection with. So that's it. That's the episode. We all win.
Well, I don't know if you realize that Homes.com, the company that manufactures the equipment that I use, it's called Matterport. You might have heard of it. But Homes.com just basically bought Matterport, so you're going to see a lot more of those virtual tours coming on to their platform.
Now, the company that you have going right now on 360, is it something that you started from scratch? And is it what you have done in your life through like your entire career? Or did you make a switch once you retired and you're like, hey, I'm not cool with being retired, I need to do something else?
Well, I started out in commercial photography, where I started as a freelancer at one of the department stores in Philadelphia, Strawbridge and Clothier, which has been going for years and years. But that's where I got my start. And eventually I started another business with a partner where we did commercial photography and then also preparation for printing. The company name was Photocept, so we were able to take from photography all the way through to basically to printing and prep everything and deliver to the printer and have them print it. So that company grew pretty quickly, and I sold out of that in 1990 and then just went back into commercial photography again. But right around 1990 is when the internet started to get started, and the commercial field basically disappeared because I would do large catalogs for companies like Lennox and Global Fine China and that kind of stuff. Well, they stopped printing those catalogs. So now they just hand a camera to a kid out of college and they just post it on the net. So they don't require the kind of technical expertise that they used to. So that market basically just disappeared. So I was forced to figure something out. I mean, I had to keep making money, paying the rent and all that stuff, the mortgage, I should say. So I ended up selling copiers for about 5 years or 6 years, which was absolute torture. But I decided I really needed to, it was brutal. Decided I really needed to get back into photography. So it took me about a year of research before I found this camera, this Matterport camera, and it actually creates a true 3D model. And when I saw it, I was like, okay, well, I can see the application for real estate. Everyone sees that, but I also thought like it would be a good application for bars and restaurants. Because I happened to be sitting in a bar one time. It's a very rare occasion I sit in a bar. But someone called in and asked about their banquet facilities, and the bartender says, I think we have room for about 60 people. And that's when it like really hit me. I said, nah. And I ended up selling a tour to that company where you'd be able to see exactly what, if you're going to rent a room in the upstairs, you can see exactly what it looks like and that whole thing. So that got me further involved with the commercial real estate.
So it hit you while you were at the bar. I've had many of those experiences. To the next iteration, and at the end of the day, you created something that's extremely valuable because, COVID exposed this, the whole virtual aspect. Nothing can 100% replace the immersion of live experience. However, let's say the very basic level banquets and your shopping wedding venues.
Right.
That is a multiple day time consuming process to really see it. Now you've created a solution where the venue can offer a virtual tour, and maybe the next iteration is some AI augmentation of visualizations of here's what this could look like with your white linens and balloons and stuff like that.
It's coming. It's definitely coming.
Massive time saver, one that I would have used, where you can, like, let's say take 10 virtual tours. I already now have my top 3 in mind, so I don't have to go visit 3 in person, thus saving the time of the people who are touring the venues too, the salespeople at the venues. Right, because how many tours do they have to do to convert somebody? It's a lot. It's part of a sales process. It's analogous to real estate, of all the showings and listings that turn into nothing burgers. So yeah, it's an augmentation that leads to something better. And
well,
yeah, but
you
can show someone from experience in showing people houses, I can no matter what, even if the pictures look awful, people always still want to go in person. I don't know what it is. People I'm like, this is probably a waste of time. They're like, forget it, it's not, let's go. And then it's like, oh, it is a waste of time. So maybe the 3D virtual tours will save me some time for people who want to look at houses that aren't the best.
I should say maybe you get to a point where you use that as a qualifier, force them to at least, even if they don't go through it, but send them the virtual tour.
Yeah, that's true.
It's kind of like when you read the user agreement on anything. Nobody reads that. They scroll to the bottom and check, but at least you can say, hey, I showed you all this up front. There's no surprises here.
Yeah.
Love it.
And now with the technology, you could basically connect like what we're doing here, and you could actually walk the person through the house and point out the things in the virtual tour. And
then it creates a 3D map of everything as well, is what I'm hearing. Okay.
Yeah, it's cool.
So you mentioned the pandemic. That was the busiest I ever was in real estate, because nobody wanted anybody coming through their house.
Sure.
So what you're saying is we should create another COVID for you.
No.
Let me get to the let me get
spreader
to the lab.
Yeah. I need a lab, and I need 3 bats. And
can you go back to when you sold your business in the 90s, kind of like what that experience was like and the decision to do so? Like, did you have a plan to, like, did you make money from selling it? Did you have a plan what you were going to do next?
Well, yeah, I ended up getting out at basically the right time. I mean, we had invested about $1.2 million in equipment to be able to do everything from photography all the way through the prep and printing. And I'd always been interested in computers. And that year, the Apple came out with the Quadra 950, and I ended up going to a show up in Boston. It's called Seabold, which is like a cutting edge computer show at the time. And I walked in and I saw Photoshop 2.0 for the first time. And I was just amazed that everything that it did. Like, for instance, we had a front end system on our scanner that if you wanted to rotate an image, it would take like 25 minutes to rotate the image. You just go have a cup of coffee, because computers were that slow. But once the Quadra got into the picture, I bought a really souped up Mac system, and I was able to do. I'd never turned a computer on before, and then I paid for training and all that stuff. And in basically 6 weeks, I was able to do everything that I did at my previous business with 25 employees from my house. So it really worked out well. So I was on the cutting edge of that technology. Like I said, I started out in Photoshop
Wow.
2.0, and now it's Creative Suite or whatever. So I got in on the ground floor with that, and that was really valuable.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, none of those business that I used to compete with.
Now,
back
were
then,
you
just-
following things?
I was looking at Macintosh in particular, and
Like, were you following trends, like knowing when you should get out? Like, you're like,
not really. It was just happenstance. It's just I had a business partner, and things just really weren't working out right. And he made me an offer to buy me out, and I said, "Thank you very much." And I had already had plans to go to
Okay.
to that show in Boston.
oh,
It's just lucky happenstance.
oh, that's a good thing. Can
Yeah,
you
yeah,
talk
it's
about
good.
the issue with your partner and how, like, any advice for anyone that's going into business with somebody who's a partner, or who you shouldn't go into business with? They say don't go into business with friends, family.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, because it gets complicated. If you have a problem with your partner, the most important thing I could tell you about going into business with someone is make sure that you have 50% of the business. If you have 49%, your partner can fire you anytime, basically just lock you out. So luckily, it was a 50-50 partnership, and so my partner bought me out, and I was able to get the money that I should have gotten out of the business. So,
Now, is that business
that-
still running, or?
oh no, that's long out of business.
Yeah. Okay.
It's virtually that whole market segment disappeared, along with
It's gone.
most of the printers, the 4-color and 8-color, 6-color and 8-color printers are out of business now too. A lot of people sent a lot of their stuff to China to have it done. So
Mhm.
you really couldn't compete anymore. So,
Right.
Yeah.
Not on price. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So this
And
is
then-
interesting because you're like equal parts creative, artistic, and also technical, which
Yeah.
is a rare breed. What do you look for from a business, like your business management perspective, that fills in gaps of something you're not, you can't be great at everything. So what are your gaps, and what do you look for in that theoretical business partner that ends up complementing you?
Well, I think that at this particular point, when I first got started in this 3D photography business, I joined this group called Matterport Users Group, and people would get on there and ask technical questions and this and that, and I responded to people, and then I was contacted by someone, by these two people who were starting a separate business. It's called Reality Capture Experts, and they basically hire people like me all over the world to do 3D virtual tours, and that's been invaluable. Just the back and forth from these people and the amount of knowledge that they have. So it's a group of probably close to like 90 people, and like I said, they're all over the world, and we share leads. It's basically where I get most of my work from now, is through that, but also technical knowledge, and that's invaluable. So I think like creating a group of people that can work with each other, either not necessarily formally, just loosely, is really valuable too. So you need to have someone that's gone through things that can teach you basically how to get through it.
Sure. So somebody who's willing to be a mentor. You got this kind of mastermind community going on from a management and technical perspective. And I follow like the David Meltzer point of view on, I'll give referrals because it feels good, but also that can be structured and monetized with like structured overlap agreements, which,
Sure.
that's if you're talking lead gen as a completely amicable, viable way to handle it.
Yeah, and by being part of this group a couple of years ago, a guy got this huge project from. It's kind of like an Airbnb company, but it's not Airbnb. It was a competitor to theirs,
Mhm.
and he had the contract for the entire country. So I I hired a friend of mine that and trained him in the business, and we spent probably like almost a year shooting down in Ocean City, Maryland, and Rehoboth. We did probably close to 700 properties. So
Oh,
that's
wow.
all part of being part of a group that you know,
Mhm.
that goes after that type of work. Like I'm at a different point. If I was 30 years old, I'd be going after those national accounts, but it's not where I am right now.
Sure.
So I'd rather just have it
I
given to
love
me.
the I love the type of communities where has that mentality of collaboration over competition. Like everyone's
Mhm.
doing the same thing, but we're learning from each other's mistakes or sharing like knowledge. Um,
Exactly.
now was your like did you go to college for photography or was this like a hobby that you picked up?
Well, I started like everybody does. I was yearbook photographer in high school, but then I ended up going to Rochester Institute of Technology. That's like one of the foremost schools in
Mhm.
photography in the world, actually. I didn't know that at the time, but I found out. And the professors I had were the ones that wrote the textbooks that we were using in the classes. So uh, RIT is still in the forefront of printing and now AI and all types of stuff. So it's developed into a really huge university at this point. But that's where I learned traditional photography was there. So I got a 4-year degree in professional photography from there.
Any point where you obviously it sounds like you still have a passion for it, but
Yeah, I love it.
drawing that line between your artistic creative passion and when it becomes a business, any thoughts about that?
If you like what you're doing, it's pretty easy to just go out and do the job, because you're not like saying, "Oh, I
Mm.
gotta punch in again and go make widgets for 8 hours." It changes every day. You're doing different, you're going to different locations and doing different types of buildings, and it's I just like it. It's fun. You're usually working in a
So
nice environment. Sometimes not. Pardon me.
for majority of your like career, have you always worked for yourself? I know you sold I think you what did you sell?
It was
Print
like, yeah,
scanners?
printing machines,
Yeah,
printers, and
printing
copiers.
machines. Was that
Copiers.
but was that wasn't for yourself? Was that like the only time you weren't working for yourself or under your own business?
Well, no, when I first got out of college, I sold printing supplies, which again, that was like a
Okay.
sales job. But that lasted, I guess maybe about 5 years before I decided to go freelance and get back into traditional photography. And then I basically did that for over 40 years before
Now, when you went to freelance, did you have a family yet? Were you married yet, or were you able to get established before then? Because I always think how scary it could be as like a husband and a father, and then going off and starting a business, and then not having that security there.
Yeah, well, actually, I owe everything to my wife, Michelle. She was the one that basically did the 9 to 5 gig and provided insurance for us that whole time.
Mhm.
And
Hmm.
so, our daughter Megan wasn't born until 1990. So, sorry.
No,
Um,
you're all good.
Could be a big deal.
no, it's a friend.
National account coming to you.
So yeah, I didn't have to worry so much. I mean, we
Mhm.
basically lived in an apartment, so and but our first house was a duplex, so that helped. So we were able to just get half the mortgage paid by.
Oh, okay. That's the house hacking.
The house
House
hacking.
hack. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
and at one point we had a single family home and 2 rental properties, and then eventually we ended up selling the rental properties. So
Everything
we
leads to
just
real
still have
estate.
them now.
Everything does lead to real
Yeah,
estate.
everything leads to real estate.
So why did you end up selling your real estate? You just didn't want to
We
deal with
wanted
the
to.
like, landlords, or
No, we were really pretty lucky with tenants. They were all,
Mhm.
they were basically pretty good. We didn't have much of a problem with that. But no, we decided we wanted to buy a big house, and that was what we did, which wasn't really the right thing to do. But hindsight's 2020.
Yeah.
All right. So transitioning from equipment sales, your post-college gig, to freelancing. Did you burn the boats? Did you start the side hustle while you were still working? How did you approach that? Would you do it differently? And what are your thoughts about that in retrospect?
It's just the way things happen to work out. I mean, in a sales job, you don't get, you don't get laid off. You basically get fired.
Right.
So,
You kill what you eat, and if you're not killing, then you're not eating.
exactly.
Yeah.
So, it was just, that's basically what happens,
Okay. Well, I guess my question is, did you flip a switch, or did you dabble into freelancing and kind of quietly quit the sales job?
No, I came in one day and they said, thank you for your service. And
Okay.
drop the keys off for the car and get away home. So it was like instantaneous. So I had to figure something
Burn the
out.
boats. Yep.
And I
Yep.
just happened to
Okay.
get a job at a photo lab and ran into a guy that was like my age, whose uncle was a commercial photographer, and ended up going to work for him for a little while, for probably, I don't know, 2 years. And that's where I really got into the studio photography. And then eventually he lost his big account that I was basically working on. So that's when I went and got a job at freelance at a department store. So it's just kind of just the way things worked out. Knock on wood, I've been pretty lucky.
Oh, I mean, I don't really believe in luck. You made this happen, right? What is, luck but opportunity and timing, I suppose, and then the ability to take action with it.
Yeah,
Plenty of
I've heard
people
it said,
have had those opportunities and they don't take that next step.
right. I've heard it said that luck is where opportunity meets preparation.
Preparation,
Yeah.
yeah, and timing, I suppose. Well, opportunity is timing, I suppose. But yeah.
So what's your greatest advice you can give for somebody within specifically your field who might be a college student doing photography? What's your advice for them? Where should they be looking? Where should they be going?
To be perfectly honest, at this point, I really don't know, because the paths that I went down, I don't think are really available today. But I think that the main thing is to really love what you do. If you really love photography per se, then just pursue it. Just when I started getting involved with the real estate, I never really used PowerPoint before, but I sat down and taught myself PowerPoint to be able to go into real estate offices and do the dog and pony show for the group meetings. Mm-hmm. And that really helped. But so, it was like out of necessity. Like, again, I'd never worked with PowerPoint, but this thing called YouTube where you can learn anything. And, I was able to just
This is now the 5th example you've given of having no idea about something and then leaning in to teach yourself, because that's really the choice, is either you do it yourself, you learn it, or you have to partner or pay with somebody to do it. There's no real in between any of that.
Yeah, the reason why I asked that question about young photographers is because for me it seems like photography is such I'm very big that if you go to college for especially in art, you should be an artist. And they always have YouTube and everything. So is it worth it for someone who's a photographer now to go to school and pay, or can everyone learn everything themselves? And I'm imagining that being a photographer in general is probably just a lot harder now because everybody has a camera.
Right. And cameras, the camera phones now are they're basically AI connected. So it's, you don't need the real deep technical expertise that you used to. And so
for execution, I still think you need to know the fundamentals of this stuff to deliver a good product.
I agree.
And that's my takeaway from all of this is you can be passionate about something and do it. Doesn't mean it's going to make you money unless it's a pathway to solving a problem for somebody as a service, which you've done now 90 times over, as proven here. But that's the key. You can be the starving artist, but if you can turn that art into value for somebody else, whether you do that yourself or partner up with somebody who can make that connection, there is where the doing what you love is profitable, as proven.
Yeah. Find a need and fill it, basically.
Yeah. But to circle back on your education and foundations of, the fundamentals of the technique. When I say technical, I don't mean this part of photography. I mean the composition, the lighting, all that stuff,
Right.
and then the things I don't know about. That's, even though the camera does it, you got to know how to wield it, or otherwise it's going to be a junky product. And that's, the
Absolutely.
direction I'm seeing AI is. The most beautiful AI products are driven by somebody who knows the foundations and how to tell it to spit out something appropriate.
Yes, definitely.
Oh, I thought you were frozen.
No.
All right. How much time we got?
We're at the end segment here.
We're almost at the end segment here. So what else do I got for you? So what I want to know as a final thought is, tell us, if you don't mind sharing, the lowest point you've ever had in business, and then how you got out of it. The lowest point.
I think that was selling copiers. It was
selling copiers.
Yeah, it's, nobody wants to see you. You're doing that cold calling thing, and we would have to come back into the office every day and put information into Salesforce as to who we spoke to and what was discussed, and then like 6 months later they take all that information and take your account and give it to somebody else. So it was very frustrating. It was like I was the what they call the silverback. I was the oldest person in the room, and it was kind of a cliquey group of people that it was just I couldn't deal with it anymore. So
like then from there, like the mental, what it was causing you, is that a job that you also just kind of pieced out up from? Like
while I was still working that job is when I started to try to research some other way to get back into photography. And I was already in Rochester, where I went to college. That's where George Eastman started the Kodak company. And I went and took a tour of the George Eastman house, and they had an example of 3D photography there of a woman in like a Gone with the Wind dress. And it was about, I don't know, 12 inches, 14 inches tall, but the detail was incredible. And it always stuck in my mind, like, how did they do that? And it molded in my head for like my whole life. And then as I was researching to try to figure out a way to go in photography, I came across this 3D technology. And I was like, it kind of came full circle. I was, yeah, now I see what this could be. So
I love how you connect everything. Like, you're just randomly sitting in a bar, then you're like, oh, I'll connect this to my business. So one, thank you for coming on and sharing everything with us. Where can people get in touch with you? Where can they find you if they're looking for the services?
my website is capture360llc.com, and all my contact information is in there.
Got it. We'll drop that into the show notes. When this goes live.
Yeah. If anybody just wants to talk, I'm happy to talk with them.
Cool.
There's plenty of room for everybody to make a living in this business. So.
Love it. We're all about that. I couldn't agree more.
And we end our show in a very unique way, and you don't get out from doing it. So we always end, if you can, we end the show with a leg kick.
We kick high.
We raise our leg in the air as a leg kick. We don't know why we do it, but we're going to keep doing it. Oh, I saw it. It counts.
The dude abides.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You're doing your best, and some days it's a mess, but you're showing up still.